Chief, please start us off with pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
All right, this brings us down to our special recognitions and presentations. Our first special recognition and presentation is a safety update, Jason Snyder and Todd Poole.
Members of the board, thank you for having us here tonight. We wanted to go over some projects that we're working on together, Todd and I both, as well as several others that are involved in this. I'm just going to do some bullet points here. We're going to go through these, and then we obviously have some PROs here that are going to speak, as well as Mr. Cheeseman, that is going to give us some information on some software system, ROC, I believe it is. So I'm going to start with a few of the bullet points that we've got here. One is our ALICE training that we do annually by state code. It's state code 18, 9F, and 10. It's safe school safety that is required every year for our ALICE training that we do every year in our schools. We do follow the code for that as well. We are also, believe we have tentatively our first date for ALICE training is October 14th. I believe we're going to knock out probably around 12 schools is what we're going to try to do. That'll give us another 10. We're going to do it at a later date. We have, moving on, we have our weapon detectors. We have put into a few of our schools. We are using basically daily as our kids are coming in, and throughout the day we are doing walkthroughs, classroom walkthroughs with the students, keeping all of our staff and students safe. We also have started with some of the secure entrances. We've looking at Liberty, Mountaineer Middle, RCB. They've all been funded this year. I believe I spoke with the superintendent. We're going to try to fast track that and get these started ASAP. We're also looking, after we get those completed, Bridgeport Middle and South Harrison Middle, I believe we're going to possibly try to get those in as well. They're going to be after those three initial schools that have been funded. Access control, which is our badges that we use to get into the schools. There is an updated software for all controllers this year. So that will be another part of the software upgrades that we're doing. Moving on with rank 1, that is facial recognition. The pilot is now, from what I understand, talking with Mr. Poole, it is up and running at our school in the old Wilsonburg school. So we've got it up and going. And I believe Mr. Cheeseman will be up here just shortly, and he's going to give you more details on how that system runs. We also have the Siemens emergency alert system. We've talked about. It's finally come to light. I believe construction on that is going to start, I believe, tomorrow. Is that correct, Doug? So it is going to start tomorrow. That is the beacon system that we talked about with our different code levels that are on the lanyards that administrators are going to have. It's got glass breakage, and I believe Mr. Poole is going to expand on that a little bit more to some of the features that system does. So we're looking very forward to getting that up and going. I don't know if you all know, but we have Jay Simmons. He is our new school safety unit Capitol Police person. We used to have Clint Lance. I believe he did a presentation with me a time or two before I was here last time. So Jay Simmons is visiting our schools, making sure we're all compliant. And as of now, I've not heard any bad reports with any of our schools. He says that we are definitely above the curve at this point. Recently, we've got Harrison County EMS and all first responders. They have key fob access to be able to get into our schools at any time. In case of an emergency, they have been denied in the past, but they now have all full access. to get into our schools if they need to. Communication upgrades, I believe this may be a little older one. The bus radios monitored obviously by 911, and that has been completed with our school buses. Communication is very for safety reasons. We definitely like to have that up and going. Those are a few of the things that we are going to talk about, as well as the PROs are here. Some of you may or may not know the day-to-day operations of what the PROs do in our schools. I felt it was very important for them to be here tonight. You all may have some questions, safety questions that you may have that you may want to ask them. But I have asked Mr. Shingleton if he would come up and just say a few things. And then again, if there would be any questions from any of you on the day-to-day with our PROs, they're a valuable asset. When it comes down to it, when there's no electric, we still have PROs, and they are able to respond at a moment's notice. And I can't tell you how important it is to have these PROs in our school. So in saying that, if I can have Cody, if you could come up and maybe just say a couple of things, and then I'll be back up to the podium. Excuse me.
He asked me to, can you tell what the kind of day-to-day operations are? And I kind of chuckled because our patrol buddies will joking with us, they're like, oh, what do you do all day, Cody? You just, watch the cameras or play basketball with the kids. And I think to myself, if you guys only knew what the day-to-day operations was. And it's so hard to explain because it's not just something you can lay out on paper. There's so many little things that go on in the day that just keep piling up. But it's almost like, I feel, and we are by no means principals or counselors or school nurses, we have them and they are absolutely wonderful, but it's almost like every job in the school, you kind of put in a hat, mold it together, and that's your PRO officer. I mean, we go from, it's not just about the safety. Obviously I'm checking cameras and doing outer perimeter checks, but a lot of community and even our fellow patrol guys think that we are just like, security. And if a bad guy comes in, you arrest him. Or if somebody needs arrested, you arrest them. And if it was only that, I would probably have a pretty easy day of just chilling in my office, drinking coffee, watching the camera. If somebody needs arrested, call me on the radio. But it is so much more than that. Our offices are a revolving door all day, good, bad. And it's not only in-school problems. A lot of it's home problems. And I'm fortunate to work in the school that I graduated from, the community that I grew up in. So it's safe to say that I look around at the cafeteria, I'm like, I have probably more than half of your parents' phone numbers right in my phone. We all went to high school together. So just having that rapport, just like Mr. Snyder said, we can have secure entrances. We can have all these walls to protect the kids, and that's wonderful. But if the electric goes out, your police officer's in the building. The report is there. I couldn't tell you how much we've probably stopped just by having the report. And our phones blow up all hours of the night. I've solved a lot of school problems while mowing my grass. It's just nonstop. But that's why we're there. And we've been there long enough. Like I said, the report is just outstanding. Sometimes I hear more than I want to know. Zach and I started in 2016. He's been in his school the whole time. Officer Hammer's been at Bridgeport since I've been in high school, and
Thank you.
I always like to. So I have to say that's the stuff that you can't replace. But on the day-to-day, some days are better than others, but even the busiest days, it's a blessing, and I'm glad we're there and able to prevent what we can and help what we can, whether it be in school or whatever's going on in their home life. So, if you have any questions?
What school are you in?
Lincoln, sir. Lincoln High School. Yeah. All right. Well,
One question, Craig.
Yes, sir.
Collectively, what do you think the biggest challenges are, safety-wise or?
Parents. Yes, sir, parents. For example, there's a lot of issues like with the phones and things right now. And it's so hard when you talk to them, I explain, hey, maybe I found this on another kid's phone that involves your kid's phone or the conversations that they're having and things like that. And at the end of the day, they go home and they come back the next day with the phone. I'm not here to tell anybody how to parent, but that would not have happened in my house. I would not have had that phone for a while. So it just seems like, and I don't know that it's intentional, but a lot of students are getting raised by their grandparents, and God bless them. I just don't think that they realize the capabilities they have when they have that phone in their hands. I've oftentimes had them tell me that, well, he has the phone, but it doesn't have service. And it's like, well, yes, ma'am, but they can go to get Wi-Fi anywhere, and that phone can do everything just because you don't have it. And they just don't understand that. So that it's hard to get parents to understand just what their child is capable of, even with the phone. And obviously the vapes, that's always an issue, but we're starting to get a little bit on top of that, little by little. But again, there's not a lot of repercussions at home sometimes, so it makes it difficult for us.
What can we do as a board, resource-wise, to support PROs?
I think we're doing what the best we can. I know anything that we ask Mr. Snyder for, if I'm like, hey, can you order me this? I mean, it's done. I mean, we have, the detectors, the weapons detectors too, we can use for different searches and stuff. And when we've been doing random searches, that's oftentimes we'll find vapes and stuff in purses and things like that. Just our regular wands, we'll pick up vapes. We have the sensors in the bathrooms. And back to the report thing, most of the ones we get is because someone popped in office and said, hey, you need to know this. And then got out of there, and I go to the administration and say, hey, I think we got something, and then we investigate it. And it's usually accurate. So, I think we're doing all we can. Obviously, it changes all the time. Technology's changing. I mean, the vapes, the things that it started out with is completely different than like what it was 2 years ago. So, I mean, it's hard for us to really stay up to date on all that stuff, especially with the THCs and what's legal and this and that, where they're selling it. I mean, it's you got to really stay up on it. So, but I think we're doing all that we can.
You're at Lincoln, you're Bridgeport, where?
I'm from United High School, sir.
You're United?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd just like to add, I was a classroom teacher for 43 years in Southern, and more than once, Officer Hammer came to my room. Kids in Spanish were doing a thing on student rights, and she spent almost an hour with them just explaining their rights. So it's those kinds of things too, not just protection, but they are. And then one time there was an argument, if somebody's invading your house, when are you allowed to shoot them? And so she went through that, but it's information they may use later as an adult.
That's part of the difference between school resource officers and prevention resource officers. What we are, and here in West Virginia, our job is not just safety, but it is getting out and mentoring, like he said, wearing all the hats and getting into the classroom and having those discussions and finding out what do they want to know and answer their questions as best we can. So that's where we take it, I think, a step further than what you see nationally.
If we're not busy, we're not doing our job. That's
Agreed.
And we do teach a lot of classes, whether it's going to a history class and talking about, laws and amendments and things like that, or is it a tactics class? I taught our dance line girls, they were kind of done with their practice, and they had like some time at the end of the semester. I pulled them all in, and we had a Cody's tactical 10-minute class where I taught them all this stuff, like, what do you do if this happens, or if this happens? And we had a code yellow the other day, just doing a quick search thing. Well, my dance line had ran and hid in the gymnasium, and then I didn't know where they were. And I was like, where's the girls? Like, I literally can't find them. Well, they had come out of this hiding spot, and they were so proud to tell me everything that they found in that closet to hurt a bad guy if he was to come in. And I was like, this is outstanding, girls. I mean, I was really proud of them. I mean, they told me everything. They had a plan A, a plan B, everything that we'd always went over. And that goes, school, mall, wherever. So there's a lot of things they're learning that from us. It's not just school safety, it's just life safety in general.
Thank you for everything that you're all doing. I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
And the board does as well. Interesting fact that the levy call that we have coming up in the November election has enough funds to supply a resource officer for every school in Harrison County. Interesting fact. Sorry.
That would be a good thing.
The officers are available.
If the officers are available, that's the other hard part, is getting quality resource officers in our schools. And taking them off the road is hard for, it's training for departments. I can tell you firsthand, I know that. Okay, so any other questions with PROs? I think we finished up with them. Next, I'm going to have Mr. Cheeseman, if you can come up and just speak about the rank 1 facial recognition.
Well, good evening. It's certainly good to be here. It's good to see you all. I'm Adam Cheeseman. I'm the current Director of School Safety for ROC, Rank 1 Computing. I have spent the last 8 years as Superintendent of Schools in Doddridge County, and so very familiar with the education system, very familiar with West Virginia. I want to start by commending this Board of Education and Superintendent Stetler for the proactive approach that you took with safety. The 8 years I spent as superintendent, safety was #1 priority. It's what keeps us up at night, right? And so what you're doing, the job you're doing is remarkable. Speak to the PROs, terrific job. You're a valuable asset. I'm going to talk tonight about some technology, and this is very good technology, but it cannot replace the PROs, right? So I just want that to be known. At ROC, maybe you've heard a little bit about us. I don't know. I'm going to give a brief overview. Be happy to answer questions. But as the Director of School Safety, it's my job to go around the Board of Education and make sure everyone's aware of the product that we have. So we have a 3-in-1 school safety solution. This solution includes putting software in existing camera structures that can do the following. Number one, it can do facial recognition, so it can do visitor management. You can upload a sex offender list, you can upload regional jail list, basically any populated list can be put in to this software, and it will alert school secretaries, school principals, really anyone the superintendent wants to alert. And so you also can enroll parents and grandparents, parent pickup could be a little bit easier. There's all kinds of things with the visitor management piece that we can do. It also does license plate recognition, and obviously there's a lot of functions for that. But what I'm really here to talk about is the gun detection. So 2 years ago, Rob came to Doddridge County, and the CEO is from Doddridge County, so he came to me and said, would you be interested in piloting this technology? And he talked about visitor management, and that's important. He talked about LPR, and that's important, but it was the gun detection that really caught me. And so I said, absolutely. And our board jumped on, and did it. And so how this works is if, God forbid, but if there was a shooter that was to come onto campus, this software is put in cameras around your perimeter. It would identify the gun, right? And it would send an alert immediately to the front office, the secretary, the principal. It would then send an SMS text message to anybody that the county would choose for that message to go to. It would have a picture of the gun, of the individual, and it would then come, you could pull it up quickly, and then you could adjudicate whether or not that is a credible threat or not, right? And so then once that happens, you then would hit the button and it would send then, the alerts out, 911, so on and so forth. So the software can integrate with just about any existing software. And so when I heard that, especially in the climate that we're in today, we quickly jumped on board. So Doddridge County currently has this, Putnam County currently has this, Marion County has this, and Clay County has a proof of concept right now at their high school. I can tell you that I've had many conversations today with 7 different counties that I'll be going to over the next 2 weeks, to share a little bit about this and to do some proof of concepts. We were at United on Friday with the officer and Todd to demo the gun detection. And I'm happy to say, and I'm sure Jason would share too, that the moment that the weapon popped up, it alerted the secretary's computer, put up gun detection, and it has an audible ding, 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 right? That she then was able to look you could clearly see the gun being detected, and it sent that report out. Some things that we're looking to do, so that's what we have currently. What we're in the process of doing is number one, making this software and making this solution more robust, right? So we just don't want to sell a piece of technology. One thing that I've been able to bring to the ROC team is an understanding of schools. We want to sell a service too, right? We want this to be a full solution opportunity. And so we are currently opening up a command center. That will be in Morgantown, where districts could opt into this, but we are going to hire retired FBI agents. We're going to maybe current law enforcement off duty, but we're going to staff this command center with police folks that can recognize a gun, right, and not be able to get too rattled. They will be able to see it as an added layer of protection. And so not only would the system alert your local, but we too then, with our special ops team, are able to see it, and we perhaps could detect it, right? We will detect it. And so if the secretary's at the restroom, or if schools get hectic, I understand that, right? We then would be there, being able to see it too, right? And we then could send SWAT teams, so on and so forth. So that's one feature that's coming, and it's coming quick. They're working very, very fast at it. And then the second feature that's coming is a reunification feature, to where if you had to evacuate a building, you could quickly then, with our mobile app, be able to connect kids back to parents. Also, you could do that at the end of the day. So it probably was a really, really long explanation, but I'm also a preacher, so I talk a lot. I don't know what to think. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
What's the, I guess, if you develop a response time for the command center, so if it's in Morgantown, how would that work? Would you reach out to local law enforcement?
Yeah, so what we're doing, that is one layer. What we're also doing is working with some folks from the state level to try to integrate everything together at the Fusion Center and all those different folks that are out trying to protect. And ideally, that's the connection that we'll make. We're extending an offer to the Fusion Center, to the PRO organization, to the state police. If they wanted to house somebody in this command center, they'd be welcome to do that. So we have a Morgantown branch. The company is based out of Denver. We opened a Morgantown office. And so we would just open up our office space to them too. So that way, everybody there would, see it, be on the same page, and quickly, respond.
I like the facial recognition piece. I think that's important.
We currently have it operating at United.
Yes,
That was our
yeah.
first
So we,
school and first try, and been very impressed with the whole system.
Yeah.
So far.
Didn't we listen to this presentation within a year or two ago, and then time, because I remember the young man was from this area, yes.
okay.
Very good program, then.
I think that we have to do everything we can to protect this school's environments that everybody's involved in today. So is it just, so facial recognition, right? Firearm detection.
Mhm.
Is there, and I know this might be a question for Mr. Poole, but is there anything that goes together with your system and the Siemens remote system?
So
I
I
was
will,
gonna ask you to talk about that.
yeah, I will talk about that from ROC's side, and then I'll let Mr. Poole, from your all side. I will tell you up front that I am not the most technical person, right? So when it starts getting into some of the software, how they connect, but I can tell you this, our CEO is very good friends with the Siemens CEO. They've already talked, and both CEOs have agreed that it can easily be integrated. And so from what I understand, yes, they can all flow together. Now that's the least technical response you probably get, right?
But I'm sorry, I was thinking lockdown, how would that come about? What would we do in that that scenario. Thank God we've not been faced with it yet,
Right,
but
sure.
we have to think about what would happen.
Yeah.
And be prepared if something like that would happen. So that's what my question, where I was thinking was, how can those two pieces integrate to put the campuses on lockdown?
Before you quit, you're talking about the campus in Morgantown. Can there not be, any county that you're in, that you have your program, could there not be a satellite place in that county
Yeah, so
rather
you
than?
mean to
Yeah, I mean, it
detect?
goes to Morgantown, then it's gotta come back.
Yeah.
You know.
So actually, Doug, it would, or Mr. Hunt,
That's okay.
it would actually simultaneously go to the county. So every county office, right, would have the technology on it. And so you would be getting it here and the alert would happen. And then at the same time, we would see it in real time at Morgantown. So we would be almost like, I don't want to say a backup layer, but it would be an added layer of visibility. So in some ways, we would be adding a security guard, right, to look at all the cameras. But again, that will be an opt-in county by county. We understand some counties might not want that, right, but it is an option.
Yeah, time is of the essence, especially in that type of situation.
Absolutely,
And if,
yeah.
had to go to one place and then have to be
No,
sent
no.
back for that time,
Right, well, and so when it would, if it did detect a weapon, the PRO would be alerted, assuming that that's what the county would choose to do, that's what we did. It would be alerted immediately, and so they would see if they could be acting. But again, we would just be there as an added layer, I guess, in a more of a full service type of solution than, I've been around education for 17 years. The worst thing that could happen is you buy a product, you buy a piece of technology, whatever it might be, and then they say, okay, thanks, and you walk away from it. And sometimes you set it down, it's never used again, and it just doesn't work well. And so this is kind of what we're trying to do, be more of a service-based as well. Did you want to see me? Do I have any other, I guess I could answer any other questions. Yeah, all right, I appreciate it, thank you all.
Thanks.
That's a pretty good segue, actually. Yeah, when we were, when Mr. Cheeseman was out the other day, when we were standing around talking about the product, that was the first thing that I thought of, how can we marry these two programs together? And not just this program, but a lot of programs. I don't think we do enough integration when it comes to all the tools that we have, because today more so than ever, a lot of companies have open APIs, meaning that they can talk to each other. And this one definitely does. The CENA system is very open for other tools to be able to communicate with that. So my first thought was, geez, if this can recognize a gun, at least shut our doors down, our main doors, so that no one can access. Even if it's a false threat, we can immediately shut the doors down. That's huge, because that's going to be faster than somebody else can get to that. So that was just a thought. We talked about it a little bit. I didn't realize that there was a connection between the two companies, but that's even better. So far, I've been real impressed. Mrs. Stutler and I had a conversation about this, and just for just rolling it out, we were back out there this afternoon, adding a couple more cameras and testing it. We were able to get some good results, just for immediate.
Tom, when you say lock the doors down, the doors are already locked, correct?
They are, but it would keep anybody else from being able to badge someone in or unlock them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess I misspoke on that, but
I know, I was
Yeah.
just making a
and
clarification.
that,
Our doors are always locked.
they are, but the doors with the badge reader can, this is a segue into access control that Mr. Snyder mentioned. This school year, we're going to be updating the chipset for all of our controllers across the county so that they are the latest version. We got a variety of different controllers throughout the county just because of different times that they were put in, but adding this new chipset will bring them up to the modern ones, which will allow systems like this to be able to communicate with them. So in a case like that, no one else will be able to badge into the building only maybe certain group, like administrative group or something like that. So that would keep anybody else from accessing the building in an event like that. But we have to get the software up to the current version to do that. So again, Siemens project starts tomorrow. They're going to have technicians on site, bringing equipment in and starting the installations. We're really excited about that. That's moving along very quickly.
Where are you going to
We're
start?
going to start at Bridgeport High School. So hopefully Renee's watching this.
You know, why do we pick Bridgeport High School first?
Mainly the secure entrance is going to be a later project, so we'll be able to actually do the installation. It'll be a little more permanent for a little bit longer. We want to stay away from, we want to put some of the schools that are going to be having some construction done at a later time in the project. That way we'll know more about those as they develop. So like RCB will be a little bit later in the time frame of the project.
So are you going to install in schools that we know are going to be closing at the end of the year
No.
or not?
No, not at all.
Todd, will you please explain just a little more what Siemens is? A brief
well,
overview of what.
It is a platform mainly that can have a lot of endpoints, different endpoints that we can utilize. We have chosen to use the beacons, the buttons, the lanyards. So we have chosen different glass breakage. We are incorporating the fire alarm monitoring. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this. It's very flexible. So, you can even go as far as monitoring freezers if you want to. That kind of thing. So there's a lot of different flexibility that the program has.
Can you explain the lanyard part?
The lanyard has, I think, 3 buttons, I believe, so we can program those however we want. And an administrator can press those in a situation to get a code blue. That just gives them another layer. PROs can have one as well. So, they can initiate an alert of any type. So. And that alert, the message can go to whoever needs that alert. We're going to integrate our intercom system as well. So if you go into Code Blue, there'll be a message that goes in the building through our intercoms that says Code Blue. The nurse can get a message. As I said in the last meeting, the transportation office is one that gets kind of left out a little bit on those Code Blues, especially during dismissal time. So they will get that alert as well. It can be displayed on different devices, iPads, just different things. Whatever we choose to do, we can actually display that. So, and again, like Sergeant Hudson and I were talking the other day, all these things are great. They are another layer, and we certainly welcome those. They're not the silver bullet, but they're another layer that helps us all.
I have 2 questions. One, okay, if we get to a situation where you put this into a school that we know is going to close at the end of the year, can that equipment not be retrieved out and
Sure.
installed there?
We do that.
I'll be honest with you, I think we ought to consider Washington Irving Middle School. I think it's one of our, hotspots right here in the middle of town with all the, people that are wandering around.
To install it for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, just for the internet, and then take it out and you can put it, one of the other schools. I think that's just one of the schools that I think, not all of them are equal, but I think that's one that would concern me a great deal. And second thing is, I really think it's very important that this, when we have a situation that's going out, that some of the secretaries that are in these schools, for some reason, some of them don't get the message, don't know that there's, might be a situation, and all of a sudden they're sitting there in their office, and I'll use WI again, they're lady that checks people in, parents and kids and what have you, sitting there. And the other day, I know this for a fact, she got bombarded, and there were so many parents when they signed their child out, and she had no idea what was going on. And I just think that it's critical that in schools and situations like that, the secretary, they'll be notified as early as right after we're notified. You know, so I don't know how you can handle that, or if you can send it to one, you know, to the one secretary or what, you know, and then another one that's in that building. At least they're aware of a situation that's, could possibly be. Hopefully it don't, you know, it doesn't pan out, but, if they're not aware of it, and then, you know, because, you know, sometimes, you know, we all been parents, sometimes we're not always very diplomatic, you know, their concern is for their child, and their child, when they want their child right now, and we got another 400 or 500 children in that same situation, and all of a sudden, they just start flooding in there, and streets are backed up, and all. I just think that if they're aware, then they can be ready for it.
Right.
And get themselves some extra help.
And of course, the school administrator can also help.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I think we could probably talk about that, who needs to be on the alert system, right?
Absolutely, we'll map it all out, and, you know, who needs it, we'll get it. You know, and of course, that also includes members of law enforcement, emergency services, all that. You know.
I would think we wouldn't want to I mean, depending, is it a user-based system, like you only have so many users that can be
No.
alerted, anyone can be alerted?
I believe it's unlimited,
Okay.
and if it's not, we'll buy more.
Well, by the time they got the information, they'd already been bombarded, you know, with irate parents, and kids wouldn't leave their classroom and go down on call home, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, it is a turmoil type situation that occurs, that comes up, and I just think that, you know, most important people need to know, should know.
And that's really the kind of the point, is trying to keep everybody on the same page, including us. There's lots of times that we don't know, you know, if something's happened in the building, you know, we're not always the first to know.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Along with what you said, Mr. Cheeseman, I'm sure that maybe the secretary was an example of the alert coming to her computer. These folks here, would they not be immediately receiving that on their cell phone? Or
From the Siemens system, yes.
either one, but both of them?
Yes. From our system, absolutely. They would, and they can even have it on their computer as well. So it wouldn't just,
But I would think that their cell phone in
yes, it
particular.
would come right to their cell phone
Yeah.
with the detection, yes.
Do we have any other questions with any of the information that I've given tonight? We've covered a lot.
Can you go over Alice training again? I don't know if I remember that, we've done it before, I don't know what that is.
So it's a kind of a
Shooter?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's an acronym.
Okay.
Right, and we're required to do that here.
Okay.
And we do follow with our state code, to stay within compliance. So our first date, did I give you the first date we had? October 14th.
Yeah.
October 14th, yeah. Slated, I believe, about 12 schools. Any other questions?
I have none. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have School Service Personnel Day Proclamation. Superintendent Stutler, would you like to read out the school service personnel and recognition of school service personnel day?
This is a happy thing to celebrate. Come up here, Sherry. We always, every year, get to recognize our service personnel, and we get a proclamation from the governor about the same time, recognizing all of our great service individuals. Of course, you see our pro officers and everybody that makes our schools run and work well. Well, we can't do it without service personnel. Our cooks, our bus drivers, our custodians, our maintenance people, aides, LTNs. So all those folks are what's making us operate and work well in a school system. I believe Sherry Talkington has been involved with school service personnel for a long time. I I won't quite say how long.
The
You are currently the president of the,
state president of WVSSPA.
so she's worked with us for a long time. We always appreciate that. She tells me sometimes when we're doing things that she doesn't like, and we tell her sometimes the same. So we
Back off.
try to,
Joy.
that's right, we try to keep that relationship and,
I think I had a couple meetings with this gentleman. in
all right.
Providence.
There you go. So you're familiar with that?
Yeah.
So we're going to read this proclamation from the governor, and this one is signed by our board for you. This copy will be for you, and then we'll keep the one from the governor. A proclamation, whereas school service personnel are involved in nearly every aspect of education.
Might I interrupt for one quick second? I don't mind you guys speaking, but could you, yes, thank you, take it outside for, thank you.
That's the teacher in you, right? Somewhere. Every aspect of education by maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, and assisting in the classroom, as well as providing administrative support functions, safe transportation, and many other specialized services. And whereas school service personnel are instrumental in West Virginia's responsibility to educate all students, and whereas these dedicated individuals serve the children of West Virginia in our public education system and have an important role of non-instructional service to the education system. But we do have instructional aides. So we've done a lot of training with ECATs and things, so it's coming a long way. Whereas it is fitting we recognize the outstanding work these individuals do for the state, their communities, and the students enrolled in West Virginia. Now therefore be it resolved that the Harrison County Board of Education does hereby proclaim September 19th, 2024 as West Virginia School Service Personnel Day. Passed by this Harrison County Board of Education, Clarksburg, West Virginia, the 17th day of September. And of course, all of our board members.
Does that mean I get the day off?
A paid day off.
Justice is paid more.
You want to call Jim Justice and Mac one?
No, I don't.
So, and then, Mr. Lopez, would you like to say anything? He's kind of got that under his umbrella, school service
Well, I
personnel.
will say, when
He
you talk
deals
about
with them.
school safety, you know, the first thing that a child sees in the morning is a school bus driver. They're out in the community, they see things. So when you talk about school safety, it starts with our service personnel. You talk about all the doors being locked, the custodians, not only cleaning, but making sure the facility is safe. The secretary is highly alert. Of course, all the learning environments that the aides provide, are the LPNs. And I can tell you that Harrison County service personnel are quality individuals. And I've learned that firsthand. I have.
Would you like to say anything?
No, I enjoy working with Harrison County. They're always good to listen to my complaints.
They're not
Sometimes.
always complaining.
No, but my concerns, I'll put it that way, my concerns. I've called Jimmy multiple times and we've always came up to a solution. That we were all happy with. And I can't say, Tammy, I know I call her at least once or twice a week. She probably has my number on speed dial now. She's like, oh no, she's gone again. But I can't say anything that, you know, you've said about service personnel, about this board, about our whole board. I mean, they work together with service. They treat us as equals. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, Sharon.
Right.
You're a little own person. Isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's because he put Bill on a trip.
Family neighbors there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Go turn papers around.
Oh, sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is a presentation from Game Changers in regards to substance abuse misuse prevention program.
Thank you very much. I'm Joe Bozick. I'm founder and executive director of Game Changer. Prior to starting, I have a short statement from our chairman of the board, Larry Puccio, who was scheduled to be here tonight with us and got called into a last-minute meeting. And so he wanted me to convey his apologies for not being able to be here, and wanted me to convey this to you, that he apologizes for not being here to personally thanks Superintendent Stupper and the entire Harrison County Board of Education for participating in Game Changer. The Game Changer program is so vital in addressing opioid substance misuse and fentanyl facing our youth today. And I also want to thank the Harrison County Commission for its generous financial support of $60,000, which is put towards the Game Changer Prevention Education Program in Harrison County Schools. Game Changer Board is made up of all volunteers, and I know we look forward to working with everyone here. We have an extensive development and fundraising program. The money raised is helping Game Changer pay up to 50% of the cost for its program in schools throughout West Virginia. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't be here tonight, but I wanted to again thank you for all your support the last 3 years. Sitting here and hearing the presentation brought back to mind some of the things I've said about Game Changer. It's really a shame with the societies that we live in that both of these entities are so needed. The school safety issues and all the PLOs and the people that help keep these kids safe. And the fact that Game Changer is needed because Game Changer basically is a prevention education program that is so vital to teach kids to stay away from the drugs. And it can only be done through education. And, easier said than done, but just think about it. If a child never picked up a drug, he or she could never become an addict. I can personally tell you that I have 4 children, and I have a daughter that was an all-state basketball player up in Morgantown, and went to school to play ball, and a senior gave her a pill and a beer, and it turned into a 3-year heroin addiction. She's been 13 years clean now. She'll tell you we wouldn't have her right now if fentanyl were around. This has taken this to a whole new level. And just yesterday, we are partners with the Drug Enforcement Administration. We meet with them regularly over in Pentagon City to get updates. And they notified us last week that there are now 80,000 up and running fentanyl factories in India and 25,000 up and running fentanyl factories in China. And I don't need to tell you where it's coming from after it's made. It's coming straight here. I want to thank Superintendent Stuckler also because we went to her 3 years ago. And as you all know, Harrison County is in its 3rd year of 3 pilot schools and also is entering its 2nd year of some Game Changer schools that they've had. And in addition to what we all know is a huge job as a superintendent time-wise, she's got involved as a board member of Game Changer and as a board member of West Virginia First, which will be dispersing over $1 billion of opioid money that some will go to prevention education. Prevention education is the key. Unfortunately, we are a society in America that we want things now, and it's not going to happen now. It's going to take a while, and it's going to take a while through education and teaching the kids that when we start them in K, when they're in 8th grade, and that opportunity presents itself, that someone comes up and gives or offers someone something they shouldn't in a substance abuse, an opioid, or something that could be laced with fentanyl, they know to say no. It's not telling them to say no because we know how our kids are today. You can't just tell them to say no. They need to make the choice on their own because they know it's a wise decision to say no. And the only way they're going to know it's a wise decision is to teach them, as we're hoping that we're doing, and teach them with the curriculum that we're providing in K through 12 in West Virginia schools. And by doing that, and our peer leadership programs, the peer leadership program is really becoming effective because obviously kids look up to the older kids and the older kids are getting involved. And, I heard about the vapes and so on and so forth. Share one quick story. I had a principal tell me just this year in April, that last April he had 192 confiscated vapes in his drawer, and this year he had 19. Now, I'm not going to be naive enough to sit here and tell you that that drastic reduction was all because of Game Changer, but I certainly want to believe that it was part of something with Game Changer. And, we produced at a substantial amount a film called One Pill Can Kill for 6th to 12th graders. We've put together teacher lesson plans. We're offering it to all schools again. It will be able to satisfy the requirements under Lakin's Law. Lakin's Law, of course, was passed by the legislature that mandates that all schools in 6 through 12 provide prevention education for their youth. And on our website, beginning here in about a week, any teacher will be able to go and click on it and click on Lakin's Law Prevention Education Kit and be able to get and download all the materials that they need to help to make sure their school is in requirements of Lakin's Law. And we're again providing that free of charge. And we've also just finished producing, and in about a month, there'll be a new film for 3rd to 5th graders called You Have What It Takes. And that will be provided free of charge with teacher lesson plans for both 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Just to give you a snippet in it, how well we actually partnered with the State Department of Education and Nickelodeon Kids to make sure it was age appropriate and done correctly. And one of the exercises you'll see in the film is they take kids through a major obstacle course and they time them. There's 8 kids from West Virginia Game Changer schools throughout the state. And then they put weights on their arms, their legs, their ankles, and their waists, and they have them go through it again. And they're all within a minute more to a minute and a half more. And then they explain to them that's what happens to your body when you put substances in it, and how it slows it down and causes it not to function. So that's the kind of teaching that we hope that we're doing. And we will begin production immediately here coming soon on a film for K-2. So then we'll have all grades covered and we will provide those free of charge. I'm certainly here to answer any questions that anybody may have. We continue to reduce the cost of the program, and we will continue to reduce the cost of the program. And we have with us Dr. Marianne Corsello, who is our Director of Prevention of Program Evaluation and Programming. And she's going to go through a real quick PowerPoint with you all on the technical and Game Changer curriculum, because quite frankly, to be honest with you, I'm a marketer, an advertiser, and a promoter, and I am not an educator and never will pretend to be, and she'll do a much better job. So from up in Maine, our Director of Program Evaluations, Dr. Marianne Corsello.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having us present at the school board meeting. I will definitely be really quick. I had been a school board member myself in my own town for 5 years, and so I really appreciate all the time and energy that you're putting into serving the kids in your community. One thing I guess, Todd, would you be able to allow me to share a PowerPoint?
Yes.
He's working on it.
Okay.
A long walk.
Great, I see it lit up. Thank you. Okay, so Game Changer is basically, in a nutshell, students empowering each other to become leaders of tomorrow by embracing healthy and substance-free lifestyles today. So really, as Joe said, planting the seeds and skills so that will pay off in the future for young people. Okay. So Game Changer impacts as a systemic program that impacts students, the school, family, and the community, all working together for the health of our young people. So I've put in each quadrant, some of the things that Game Changer does with each part of the population. You'll see that awareness and prevention data are anchors for in each component. So we're bringing education and awareness to schools, students, family, and community, but also keeping an eye on the prevention data that is there in the community, and to allow us to be able to see if we're having an impact and to really track our progress. For students, we have the peer leader program, and I'll explain that in a little bit more, and some prevention education at different grade levels. We have the Game Changer videos for grades 6 through 12 and then 3 through 5. With the school, what Game Changer does is provide technical assistance and coaching support for the representative in the school who has been designated as the Game Changer coach. So we found that it's really important to have one contact person to be able to work with the Game Changer staff and think through the data that may be collected, think through some of the prevention strategies that would work the best in their school, and also as a provider of additional education and reaching out for us for additional support. The schools have asked to be connected with each other, and so we're having a professional learning community this year. That's something new. That will happen 4 times this year, where coaches in each community can share with each other what they've accomplished, what's worked, what hasn't worked, brainstorm any kind of issues that they have, and become an even larger community across school districts. For families, we also have information that is educational in nature. We'll invite them to watch the Game Changer videos and have a family parent toolkit. We invite them to be part of the stakeholder committee that helps to run the Game Changer program in the school. So Game Changer is very much community owned and run. So it's important to have representatives from schools, students, family, and the larger community on this stakeholder committee. For the community, we also want to be able to get to know the resources in the community so that they can help support any kind of prevention effort. So lots of collaborations with local prevention lead organizations and other kinds of groups in the community who can come forward and support the youth. So this looks, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but this is the Game Changer logic model. And just a quick thing, these are the resources and inputs that we have, lots of social media, funders, sponsors. We're doing an evaluation of Game Changer with WVU. We have community champions, we have DHHS support. The activities that we do can basically be boiled down to 3 different types. Technical assistance to the school to understand their prevention data and issues that they're interested in addressing. And what we're using for our survey is the West Virginia School Learning Environment Survey, which is supported by the state. Totally voluntary, just we're encouraging them to do that survey so that we can work with them on the data so it doesn't just sit on the shelf. We're also encouraging the school to think about evidence-based programs that they may already have right on their shelf or that they want to use, as those are the ones that are really connected to some positive outcomes. For education, we do peer leadership training with high school students so that they can better understand the impact of drug and alcohol use, and also help to communicate the message to the younger students. What's been very successful is having high school students talk to some of the middle school students before they go up to ninth grade, because there's a misperception that there's a lot of pressure to do drugs and alcohol, and everyone's doing it. So these are role models who are basically advocates for clean and healthy lifestyles. So we also have the Game Changer videos. We have something for the elementary education, for intensive student education, 4 days of instruction around healthy behavior and decision-making. For the community, we also offer the videos, social media. We look at providing some type of non-use activities and professional learning communities to connect the school and steering committees. So the middle part for the outputs, we just measure whether we do all those things just to kind of make sure that we're keeping track. Is this program being implemented with fidelity? And so the shorter term and the longer term outcomes are what we really hope to accomplish. So we really want schools and staff to have this knowledge of strategies to prevent substance misuse. We want them to use their prevention data, and we're hoping that by this increased collaboration and talking, we'll have a more positive school climate. For students, we want them also to be aware of the social norms, that maybe there are some misconceptions about the amount of drugs and alcohol that is going on. The students get to practice and learn refusal skills, problem solving in regard to peer pressure. And then two components we found over time that have been very important was having a student's strong sense of belonging at the school and feeling valued. So some of the peer leaders will work together with their coach to think about how do we promote student well-being and students feeling valued by different activities and different events. On the parent side, we want to make it easy for parents to communicate about substance with children. We know that that's difficult, and so that's an issue that we want to address through education. We want more healthy activities in the community and increased use of the community resources that you have. And then we hope that that leads to just more protective factors for students in the school and a decrease of risk factors for students to end up doing substances. In the middle term outcomes, we're hoping that we will see fewer behavior reports related to substances, decreased age of first use, which is a predictor of increased drug use, decreased drug and alcohol use, and decreased addiction. So this is our game plan, our model, how we see Game Changer working through the school and what we hope to achieve. We did put out a survey to Game Changer coaches to get some of their feedback. A couple of coaches just named from different schools said Game Changer provides hope for our community, school and community. When a student is surrounded by substance use, they feel that they have no hope to be different. This program shows those students and all students that there is hope and they can live in a different lifestyle. And then Game Changer is so powerful because it's student-led. Game Changer has given me the opportunity to share with students the importance of making good decisions now and in the future. I love seeing students take ownership of the program, wanting to make a difference, not only in the school, but in the community. What's really the spark plug of Game Changer is that are there peer leaders. They want to do, they're idealistic teenagers who want to turn things around, and the peer leader program gives them a way to do that and to be an active participant in making things better. Just some early examples of impact. Joe referred to the number of vapes being confiscated. This is, again, one school example that fewer vapes being confiscated. Another school had an example of decreasing the number of ambulances sent to the school for substance use. We've seen in the data from some of our early schools a decrease in the age of first use of alcohol and a decrease in drug and alcohol use and an increase in the percentage of students who feel valued at school. That all comes from some of our earlier pilot schools where we've been able to see pre and post data. So let me stop sharing and see if you had any questions or comments.
Sorry. Any questions? I have a couple questions. So what does the coach's day look like? Is the coach continually checking with students, checking in and out with students? Do the students go to the coach if there's, what is the coach, the role and the day-to-day activity?
The role of the coach is it's a very part-time activity and it's a stipended activity. The coach, their main responsibility is to connect with the game changer specialist who works with them and to organize the programs that are happening in the school so that they may assist with some of the data collection. They definitely work with the peer leaders to meet with them as a group, maybe once a week. They'll coordinate any education that's going on in the classroom. And they'll basically be a communicator from the Game Changer staff to the administration and to the student groups that come up. They work very much with the steering committee. So it's more of like similar to maybe a sponsor of a club kind of thing, only a little bit bigger than that.
So the onus is put on the students to involve the coach, or is it the opposite?
No, it's driven from the game changer specialist to the coach, and then the coach reaches out to the students and invites them to become peer leaders. And then they apply to become peer leaders, and then those are selected, the peer leaders get trained, and then the coach is there to advise them in some of their activities.
What are the coaches, so the coaches reach out to the students and ask them to apply, or can any student just apply to be a peer leader?
Any schools handle it differently. Some schools prefer to just put out an announcement, telling them about being a peer leader and inviting them to apply. Other schools handpick students, and they do that because they want students from a variety of different interests. So they don't want just athletes or just kids who are musicians, or just the good kids, the smart kids. The overall thing is that students pledge not to be using substances, and because we want them as a positive role model, but we hope to get a very diverse group of students, and that's why sometimes schools choose who they want to approach. Other times, schools decide to just leave it open.
What type of training is received by the coach and the student? How does that go together?
So the coach receives overall training in prevention and in the program from the Game Changer specialist. So the Game Changer specialist works very closely with them, and so with this coaching, actually we have a coaching manual, and they'll go through that manual kind of as a professional development activity with the coach. And then when it's time to train the peer leaders, the Game Changer specialist comes back to the school and provides 2 days of training alongside the coach with those students. So they'll get trained in public speaking, they'll get trained in some of the basics of brain development so that they'll understand the impact of substances on the body. They'll get trained in how to use social media in a positive way how to talk about substance, not using substances with each other and with younger students. So there'll be different kinds of training that will be involved for them. It's the peer leaders are just one component. So of transmitting this education to the school. The other component is right in the classroom that Game Changer specialists provide. And another component is if the coach is interested in implementing an evidence-based program, the Game Changer specialist will talk them through about who would be the best person to do it. Is it a health teacher? Is it a guidance counselor? Is it the coach themselves? So the adults are doing a fair amount of support in addition to the students.
Are there any other states that this model is used in? Is this West Virginia, the pilot state, the only state?
Just West Virginia right now. Joe, did you want to answer
Yeah,
that?
I'll address that. It was founded here, and as a matter of fact, Harrison County has 3 of the 12 pilot schools. We have had extensive talks with Kentucky and Tennessee, and just tonight when I was sitting in here, I got a call from a medical center in Chicago that somehow had Googled prevention education, got onto our website and watched One Pill Can Kill, and wants us to have a Zoom meeting with their board next week to discuss implementation of, or how we can implement the program. It's a very young program, started 6 years ago this month, but we didn't really get into the schools until, of course, the 21-22 school year. It started because of my issue and friends of mine that have put their kids in the ground that haven't been so lucky to have their kids. I developed, after seeing this, and quite frankly, 10 years as sports information director at West Virginia University, back with Coach Nealon and Coach Cabot. And, I put up with enough of the West Virginia jokes, and I put up with enough of people bombarding West Virginia, and we're hillbillies, and we're this, and we're that. And it bothered me that we were 50th in the worst category, and that's the deaths of opioid and the opioid problem. And when we had our first fundraiser to Greenbrier in 21, and Coach Saban came as our guest speaker, I made a vow there in front of everybody that, West Virginia was going to make a name for itself, and we were going to be the leader in the opioid prevention movement in the nation. And we're on our way. It's a long process. It's a tough process, and it's a costly process. And so we have been very fortunate to have so many people support us. I mean, I say better lucky than good any day. And, starting from Governor Justice to Senator Manchin to Senator Capito to Walmart to McDonald's and Parmar stores and private individuals have come to their plate because they believe in it. And we've been fortunate enough to hire good staff. We had a contract with the Hazelton Betty Ford Foundation to develop the foundation of this program. And, you put all those together, and we've been fortunate. We've been very fortunate.
I don't have any other questions. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm glad that you're in Harrison County. We've been working well with you for the longest time. I don't know, there's a MOU that's on the agenda later to discuss. There's some financial stuff in it, and I don't know if you might want to stick around for that, or
Do you need me here? I'd be glad to.
Superintendent stuff that can answer those questions.
Do you need me?
I think the MOU was pretty self-explanatory on the cost.
Yes.
Our original pilot schools, we were working directly with Hazelton Betty Ford, and the cost was, but you guys have always worked to support. We've had local companies here. Antero gave us money last year.
Yeah, we
Harrison
brought it
County
down
Commission,
to, I think, basically to, with everything from the Harrison County Commission and the other ones, I think now it's down to 10,000 a school.
Yeah.
And your pilot schools were 38,000. We paid half of that.
Mhm.
So we brought it down, and we'll continue to bring it down.
Okay. That was my biggest question. What I remember when we started this was, I was under the impression that the Game Changer program would be funding the resources. So if you're telling me that they're going to continue to come down, and Game Changers will turn around and fund a lot of this. I'm okay with that. I think that's good. And I'm not saying that us funding it is a bad thing. I just couldn't figure out when I had asked Superintendent Stutler for you guys to come talk to us, number one, how it was working, the process, how things were being trained, the money that was being spent, and why I had the idea. And I don't know if Mr. Hogan remembers that or not, of why we thought the board wasn't going to be paying any money for the services.
Well, what we've tried to do too is, it's been told to me by people in the education community that we feel like schools need to have some stake in it because people have told me that when schools have financial stake in it, programs seem to do better statistically. Again, I'm not an educator, I don't know that. We work every day. We've got an extensive development fund. And, we hope that there'll be a time not too in the distant future where this program will not cost the schools nearly what it's even costing now. We brought it down 50% in 3 years. And, we hope we can get it into that $500 to $7,500 range per school. And with us paying and with people that we're raising. And every community is different. Like Antero said, they want Harrison County to have some of the money that they gave. And we work every day with different school systems. And every school, not a one school system has the same exact deal. It starts with Game Changer paying 50% of it. That starts there. Then, up in Wheeling, for instance, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration picks up all of Wheeling Park's costs. And so, they do that as part of the Game Changer sponsorship and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, it is costly because like all our staff are all bachelor's, master's people that, have educational backgrounds or were teachers or so on and so forth. So, I'm sure everybody agrees. We want good people.
Absolutely. There's
We
no
want
doubt.
good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
In the initial stages of it, when we were talking about putting these coaches in the schools, that was early on. That's where the determination was, you needed to have somebody in that building. Because we were looking at different models for that, it needed to be in that building, a point person that was going to be there and be a stakeholder and part of the building and part of the community. So that's worked out well.
my wife's an
Yeah.
educator and up in Mon County. And, it was my idea about the Game Changer coach when we were formulating it because, being an athletic background, I see coaches with, stipends and band directors and cheerleading advisors, and I'm all for that. And I know the nature of the teacher, and we know teachers are overworked and underpaid, but teachers have the kind of heart. We could have probably got people to do this for free. We could have probably went in and talked to the teachers, and somebody would have volunteered to be the Game Changer coach for nothing. And I didn't think that was fair. And I also thought that it would send a message of how important prevention education was, that we were willing to pay somebody an extra duty contract to become involved in it and stuff and put that as a priority. So that was the thought process behind the Game Changer coach.
Hey, I'd like to say one thing, and it maybe it's totally irrelevant to what you're doing or what's going on, but I have a grandson, and so we was somewhere, and we was walking on the sidewalk, and looked down, and there lay a quarter, laying on the ground. So, I told my grandson, I said, go ahead and pick that up, go ahead and pick it up. He says, no, Grandma, he said, I'm not picking it up. I said, why not? He says, you never know. He said, it might have fentanyl on it.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not.
That is exactly what starts needing to happen because he's right. And if it did, he could die.
Well, and he
He could
said to
die.
me, I said, where did you get that? I thought, he said, we had it in school. It was, as one of those programs. And so I said, oh, Parker, I said, go ahead. He said, no, Grandpa, I'm not getting, he said, and you're not either.
So, thank you. I know anytime superintendent has my number. If any time during the course of the year or anything, any questions come up or anything, please feel free to call me.
Thank
For sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. That concludes our special recognitions and presentations. Brings us down to our delegation section. We have 2 delegations this evening. First one is Karen Petito.
I think that was resolved.
Oh,
Yeah. I
okay.
think it was resolved.
All right, second one is Brenda Pierce.
Yes, and actually, I don't need to even speak now because my questions were all answered. And it was more on like safety in the schools was my concern. And I was very pleased to hear everything that is happening. As, you know, a grandparent, parent of children, we were not aware of all the resources that you guys are actually, yeah, all the work you guys are actually doing. So it's nice to be able to come in here and all my questions were actually answered.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. You guys are welcome to stick around and watch the rest of our wonderful,
actually,
exciting meeting.
But thank you very much. I
No, thank you.
appreciate everything you
It's
guys
always
are doing.
wonderful when community members take an involvement in everything that the board and we try to do with the communities.
Well, I can honestly say that before I came here, I really didn't think you all did a lot just because of social media, but yeah, you do. You do a lot, and I appreciate it. Spread the word.
Yes.
On social media. On social media. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes delegations, brings us down to superintendent's update. Superintendent Stella.
Sure, I appreciate hearing that. I think we do a lot, and we always want to do more. I have actually a shout out, and last week, we participated in the Land of Giants. It was a presentation by Mr. Rod Rogers over at the Robinson Grant, and they had invited, it was through Medbrook Children's Charity, and invited all of our 8th graders there. And I'm not sure, they had a reception the night before, and then they had a presentation, and all the 8th graders went. And I wasn't sure what Dr. Nelson was thinking that our 8th graders were going to do. But he sent a letter, and I just wanted to recognize our 8th graders. This came from the Medbrook Children's Charity, and it was addressed here to the board and signed by Dr. Nelson. And it says, congratulations to you and the entire school board, all the principals, administrators, and teachers involved with the 8th graders in the Harrison County school system. Most importantly, congratulations to each and every 8th grader in Harrison County school system. He said he just left the program, The Land of Giants, presented by Rod Rogers, presented by Medbrook Children's Charity. And he wanted to recognize the students. They were so attentive, very polite, and amazingly well behaved. So, yeah, we like to hear that. So congratulations. If there's any 8th graders listening, I kind of hope you're not, because you should be doing other things. But anyway, congratulations to our 8th graders, because we expected that out of them. I'm not sure what he thought, but he was very impressed with that.
Is that letter going to be forwarded to each?
I will send this to the schools, because,
they.
our middle schoolers sometimes get a bad rap, and they are good kids. And they do what if they're expected to perform well or to be respectful, they are.
It was an amazing program. I had no idea the history of some of the people from Harrison County and from Westford, the rich history that they had. I think that it would be good to maybe do something like this every year with Mr. Rogers, or maybe get involved a little bit more, see if we could bring him to the schools in another capacity.
He actually had a few minutes left to talk about the tunnels under Clarksburg.
Oh, yeah.
And business on Craig Street.
My kids love the tunnels. They love talking about the tunnels.
Yeah, the stories. So it really was fascinating. It's a great event, and we always appreciate Medford Children's Charity for all that they do.
Thank you to Dr. Nelson and that whole group.
That's why they always tell you to look for the blue jar, mason jars with the number 13.
Part of that.
Yeah, they were supposed to be hidden in the tunnels with
I know I learned
beverage
that
in.
from this. Also, I have another shout out. We have Jody Sperry, and I think we do this every year, and we don't really recognize it. We offer all of our employees and staff, anybody that needs to have a flu shot. And it's a big thing to get that organized, and we work with our local health department. They were so helpful during COVID and all of that, and it's been a while since we've recognized our health department. And Jody Sperry, our nurse coordinator for setting that all up. So those dates went out to all the schools, so if you need a flu vaccine, and I'm sure if anybody would like to have one, I'm sure she would make that available since this is the health department. So just a couple of good things happening. For facilities, we've got so many projects going on right now. I think we're closing out a lot of the HVAC projects, is my understanding.
Yes, we are.
So if there's anything you'd like to add, I sent them a picture of the progress for the Victory Playground. I was at the UTC meeting the other day and took a picture on my way out, so I sent that to them. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I really don't have any major updates, unless anyone would have any questions.
Yeah, we're just moving forward. The other thing is that one of the delegations tonight was about a fence area. We put up a temporary fence, and thanks to maintenance and Danny and Jimmy for being responsive. Because of construction, it creates sometimes inconveniences for our schools, and we hate that, but we asked for a temporary fence, and the next day they were over there and they put up a temporary fence. Well, I happened to be talking with McKinley and our architects who were actually working through the needs project, which you'll see later on the agenda. And I asked them, I said, is there any way that you could help us with the fence? And they said, sure, what do you need? So that's how they are going to fence in that back area at Nutter Ford. I think it's probably needed it for a long time.
Yeah.
That back section, because I think some of the kids get up into your yard sometimes.
Yeah. I don't have a problem, but I have a neighbor who has a problem. If he has no trespassing signs and everything, and all, but I mean, kids, especially they have a runner once in a while,
Yeah.
they come through my property.
So I just wanted to say we appreciate that. It will come through as a change order at no cost because there was money in the current budget for that, from the SBA and for that project. So you'll see that as a change order at no cost. Appreciate that. Thank you to Mr. Devon for putting together a levy committee. I think it's up and rolling, and they're meeting every Wednesday, and I think they've taken it over, and they're starting to get the information out about our levy that's very student oriented, and appreciate it.
I will say, board members, if you do want to attend the levy committee, then it is Wednesday nights, but yeah, keep in mind the rules of meeting as a board, being together as a board, okay? We're not to take part in the levy committee and then, pushing the levy in a positive or negative light. But if you do want the information on what the committee is doing for informational purposes, Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, Creekside.
Yeah, and
Is there
Sam
a
and
minimum
Olivia.
number that can attend?
No, as long as there are no decisions being made, as long as there are no discussions being talked about for school board business, one of the things that we heard down in Charleston a couple days ago, as long as we adhere to those rules, it should not be a problem for the majority of us to meet together.
We have a great chair. I believe he's going to take it. And so thank you to Sam Olivia. And there's now somebody taking care of finance piece of it. So you'll be starting to see signs and things. If there's any folks out there that's listening that need me to come speak, I'd gladly do that anywhere that's open and need someone to speak about the levy and all the great things in our levy. Our system is runs well.
Who's chairing?
Sam Olivia.
Sam Olivia?
Yeah, and it is a citizens committee for the levy. There's one thing on our agenda that I missed last week, and I'm gonna skip down to the miscellaneous piece. We have a board meeting that's falling on election day. That's something we need to, it's on November election day.
Yeah, we would have to change that, absolutely. We would have to change
So
that.
I don't know what your desire is, whether to make that the Monday before, Wednesday, or what do you think?
I would
Before I
say,
forget it.
I would say, if everybody's okay with Monday, before election day.
That would be, just keep it the same time? Oh, okay.
Wait, on Monday,
Yeah,
I work that day.
okay.
6?
6.
Yeah, I don't finish till 7:15. My last class ends at 7:15 on Monday. I'm on 6th.
You do
Oh, the
Wednesday?
6th, November 6th? No, I teach Monday and Wednesday.
So
Thursday?
I can do Thursday. Thursday the seventh.
Unless you want to have a 7 o'clock meeting.
Well, I don't finish till 7:15, so I can get back to Clarksburg at close to 8. We don't
That
want
might
to
be a
do
little
it.
late.
Yeah. Okay, so the 7th, the 7th?
7? No, I don't think 7. No, 7 o'clock.
No, the 7th.
Oh, yes, that's the 7th.
At
Yes.
6 PM.
Yes.
Okay.
Will we say we're 100%, let's see. That's in November,
November 7th.
okay.
We want to get that meeting list from Caitlin again. I forgot it the last few times. Also, we are looking at the test scores. The balanced scorecard came out, and we will have a presentation on all the elementary for the first meeting in October, and then secondary will be that second meeting with what our plans are, what our weaknesses are, and what we've identified, and what our plan is moving forward to take care of that. Our schools have had their data days, so they have good information in their buildings right now. That balanced scorecard just came out last week with all the information on it, so. We're pleased with some of the areas, there's always work to do. But you'll get to see that in the next couple of meetings. I think that's all I had, except for Mr. Hogan had an update for United States.
Yeah, they got recognized again by the organization for being a 2024 West Virginia School Exemplary School. And then they also, as of right now, tentatively, and it fluctuates like ours does, but right now their enrollment, they're setting on 442 kids in their day and evening classes, which is pretty much, he said, running right along with what it was at this time last year. And, oh, and I know Mr. Tucker specifically asked me about the possibility of rerouting the traffic. They put a brand new fence and everything all the way around the career center, but the roadway goes right by Victory Elementary. And I misunderstood Mr. Tucker, and I was thinking he was talking about at noon time when the kids, are dismissed, the buses go out, and then some of the kids that drive, drive out that way also. It's a little bit shaky because we're putting in a new playground there at Victory Elementary. But then Mr. Tucker explained to me that he was more concerned with after in the evening when they leave there. So he'd like to be able to see if they could travel out the back way. There is a back way out and go by the gas pumps and down, hit the road, Crooked Run, and out that way. So at first, Mr. Call said, no, that wouldn't be good. Our parents come to pick up their children and what have you. But we was talking more about the noon situation. So he said that we could work together and see if we could come up with another solution. So we'll go back to that same question, only changing it from the noon time to after school to see if there's a way we can, get that situation maybe resolved a little bit better.
Actually, a better exit going out past Mr. Lopez's area right there than coming out past Victory, because you can see both ways so much better.
Yeah.
So much better through
If
there.
you go to the left, it's really impossible.
Yeah, and there's a lane that comes by up at the gas pumps in there, right, Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
There's a separate lane that you don't have to go through where the where the pumps are. It's a separate lane. They've been doing it actually for years. That's, a lot of times the kids go in that way or come out that way, but just to make it mandatory that they're leaving, they have to go that way on the Crooked Run. So much better.
We can talk to them about it. Only thing is, we're only one vote. There's three counties involved, so,
That's because we own the building and.
Doesn't matter.
Well, we own the building and all that.
You should be able to dictate that. Matter of fact, that's the way you want the students to
We can
go.
ask Matt to put that on his agenda.
we
For
will,
the next meeting.
we'll ask him to revisit that.
Thank you.
All right. Other than that, I really don't have anything more.
Any questions about superintendent's update? All right, this brings us to consent items. Is there a motion to accept consent items as presented?
I make the motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, out-of-state travel study request. Is there a motion to accept the out-of-state travel study request? Put it on the floor for discussion.
Make a motion, we accept out-of-state travel.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Hope, did you have any?
I did, but seeing that, both of the trips that was scheduled for the, to Pennsylvania was on Saturdays, not on the school night, so, you know, I'm okay with it in regard to that, since it's not on the school night.
All right, any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anderson Excavating. Is there a motion to approve Anderson Excavating LLC change order in the amount of $17,960.96?
That's actually.
That's a decrease.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
money back.
It's ready. All right.
You never get a change order with money back.
I make a motion that we accept the change.
I'm so used to accept, I'm so used to being asked for change orders.
I
That's
looked
great.
at it twice.
I did too.
Okay, very good. So the price decreased by $17,960.96. So is there a motion to accept the money back?
So be.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. 2024-2025 authorization of payment for private school employees of federal funds. Is there a motion to accept?
I move we accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Could
Can you
you
explain?
give us a little more explanation?
That's why we have Paul.
Oh, okay.
Works through the magic and all that.
Okay.
And we do have a lot more private entities than we've ever had.
Yes, so part of the federal rules say that we have to provide private schools equal, or not equal, but equitable portion of the federal funding that comes into the district. So if they opt in to receive federal funding, they have to develop plans just like our public schools do with the federal funding. And because their plans include like professional development and things like that, they are not our employees, so we can't just pay them without authorization from the board to do that. What we do have them is sign a little contract saying that, you know, the request for payment is outside of their employment time with the private school, so it's over and above, just like we do with our county employees with that, so.
Okay, what kind of schools is this?
So the three schools that are requesting for stipends and those type of things are St. Mary's, Notre Dame, and Mother Goose Kindergarten. The other schools didn't require, or request like for stipends and things like that, but we would have to pay. They ordered things.
We do provide support from federal programs to some of those other private schools.
Yeah, we do have
In
other private
ways.
schools, but not,
Yeah.
yes, like with purchases and things like that. So the other private schools that are that we provide services for that are not requesting this piece of it are Heritage Christian, Emmanuel, Clarksburg Children's House, and I think that's it in addition. We got several private schools that opt in to federal funding. And some of them opt in for all of the titles, like Title I, Title II, Title IV, Title III. Some of them pick and choose which ones best suit the needs of their school building.
But this is all money coming from the federal?
Correct.
Not from-
Correct,
Okay.
yes,
We're just a pass-through, correct?
Yes. So when it does an equitable portion, we look at our number of public school children versus the total of the private school children numbers based on that October 1 enrollment, and they get their ratio of the funding. So, thank you.
Yeah, speaking of the October 1 certified enrollment, you'll have that at the next meeting, so I'll give you a good idea of what our enrollment numbers are.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Memorandum of Understanding with Game Changers. Is there a motion to accept the Memorandum of Understanding with Game Changers?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I do want to just say thank you for bringing them. It's very good to hear that kind of thing because, you know, I hear it in teachers and in the schools and kids that they love the program, but I don't know much about the back end. And I think it's important for us to know the back end, to know where the money's going. I'm not saying that it's ill-spent, but fiscally responsible, we need to know where it's at, what it's going towards, and how we're spending it.
So, just remind us, where is Game Changers now?
Well, we're adding 2 additional locations. We have 12 locations, so it's easier.
Oh, so it's 12.
12 now.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
want to have it everywhere.
Mhm.
And as soon as, I'm sure there'll be, the more we get it out there, we have partners that will come in and help fund some of that. We appreciate that. My goal is, and I will talk with Lincoln, they've had it the longest, to get a group of the kids in. I think you need to hear from the kids. So you've heard this side of it, and we'll have the kids in.
I think that's great.
So you can hear from them.
We don't have it in 12 schools in Harrison County.
No, 3.
There's
No,
only
no,
3.
no, we have it in 10, and we're adding 2
Oh,
more. Yes, we started with 3. Yeah, we were 3, we did the Lincoln area initially. We were the pilot schools that were invited. There were 12 statewide. And then we added 7 schools, and that was with some funding with Antero and different gas companies here. I think they even funded some in Daughtry, I believe. They were going down the Route 50, but they wanted to stay in Harrison. And now we've got the county commission that I went down and spoke with them, and they had offered us additional funding. So I think it's, as people are learning about it, they're wanting to fund more of the schools. So we will have 12 this year. We're adding 2 more coaches. It'll be on this poster for 2 more.
Thank you. Thank you to all the partners that are participating and to everyone involved. All right, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Memorandum of Understanding with United Hospital Center for Medical Director Services. Is there a motion to accept? Estimated cost of $6,000.
I don't see it on there. I mean, I see it, but I don't see it.
Letter E. Oh, it
It doesn't have the memorandum under it.
Just has the little
There's nothing.
action up there.
Just past the blurb.
Well, the memorandum of understanding agreement is for the provision of medical director services to be provided by United Hospital Center to Harrison County Schools as needed throughout the school year in the amount of $6,000. If
That is actually Dr. Kelly Nelson's. Yes, and we've done that every year. It really wasn't formalized before. Sometimes he bills it, sometimes he doesn't, and we want to make sure that we're paying him for his service.
If there's a motion to table this item until we can get the memorandum come in front of us.
There's a hard copy somewhere. No, Jody Sperry is the one that generated that.
Let's table it possibly till the next meeting.
Maybe have her bring it.
Yeah, it's always been 6,000. He was invaluable during COVID. He was our
Absolutely. It's a great partner. All right. Next item is the 2020-2030 CEFP amendments. I have those in front of you. Is there a motion to accept 2020-2030 CEFP amendments? I'll read out the action. The recommended action is for the comprehensive educational facilities plan to include the final steps in preparing Robert C. Byrd for the merger of Liberty High School and renovations to Mountaineer Middle, and to prepare the relocation of Northview Elementary into the building.
Make a motion to approve his CEFP amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Why wasn't Liberty Middle with WI and Mount Air Middle going in, consolidating into there? And it needs to be?
It is right here, yeah. High school renovations in Mountain View Middle, prepare for the relocation of Northview.
So you're talking about the Liberty Building?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Liberty,
renovations to Liberty.
yeah, the Liberty Building did not need a CFP amendment because we're not building any structures, or we're not changing that building. We're just doing renovations for, we're doing an interior, like painting and
Sprucing
exterior, sprucing up of that building, and that's going to go out for bid here shortly. But we're not adding anything that would change the facilities plan. That's if you're building something on,
Nothing with cafeteria or anything?
not at this
You
time.
build that cafeteria and,
It's a big cafeteria.
yeah, that's a lot of kids to.
There'll be more than one lunch.
Also, is this included, cafeteria expansion for RCB and the airframe mechanics program?
Yes,
involved?
the shop.
Yeah, yes. Okay. Gotcha.
The Liberty had a VOAG program, VOAG mechanics program that's moving over to Robert C. Byrd. Instead of displacing, there is a shop there, but it's displacing a lot of our technical equipment. So we're doing a shared shop space, and it'll have 2 classrooms, 2 pool rooms, and we're bringing in airframe mechanics in that shop space. So that will take care of VOAG mechanics, and it's going to take care of, it'll be adding actually a new completer in airframe mechanics in a shared shop space.
And that's actually what you have.
Yeah, that's why he did an amendment, because it's a building on, and then it's a 500 additional seat addition to the cafeteria at, just kind of extending out where it's at.
So you don't
And then
have as
running-
many lunches.
Yeah, and then running the
There.
utilities down, to a room that's been set aside for Pro Start.
Any further discussion?
In the CEFP amendment, did we need to include like the room, the building on Simpson and Third Ward?
We did that.
Did that, okay.
This is actually amendment number 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each time we've done
Yes.
anything, we would have money or done anything that's different to alter the original CEFP.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
completed amendment, and this is where.
And not
Okay.
saying that could come as well.
But with those amendments, we saved probably a good $50 million.
Yes.
So I mean, that's another.
That's.
Did you hear that
that's-
number? 50 million?
Oh, yay.
That beats the asphalt.
That's 13 or whatever they got back to.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, this brings us down to item letter G, School Building Authority Needs Project. Is there a motion to approve the School Building Authority Needs Project as presented by the superintendent? And this is what we were just talking about, for the Robert C. Byrd Career and Technical Education expansion. And that will combine the Liberty programs and the cafeteria expansion in the Mountain View Middle Pre-K and kindergarten room renovations in Northview elementary students. And Superintendent Sutton, would you like to, oh, I'm sorry, was there a motion?
I make a motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Floor is open for discussion, Superintendent Sutton.
Sure, Friday was the deadline to get in a needs project. They do a fall needs project, they do a major improvement grant in the spring. We went back for a needs project. This should be the final piece to the major, getting the kids into the buildings. We've done a lot of work here to consolidate 5 buildings. It's a huge facilities realignment, and I think this is the final piece, and the application is there. They're actually coming up for site visit Did you see that, Mr. Lopez, the message we got from?
I spoke to Joyce Van Gilder, I believe it's the 26th,
She's coming up for.
Wednesday the 26th.
For a site visit. We'll walk, she'll look at the project, I'll make an assessment. I'll go down with Mr. Lopez in sometime in November, it's usually around the 18th or 19th, present on the project. They've been very supportive so far. Let's hope that they are this time, and in December they'll award the money.
What's the total amount?
I believe it's
$7
$7
million.
million.
7.38 with a $2 million match.
Any questions, discussion further?
The 25th, I apologize, but.
It's on my calendar.
It's Thursday, the 26th. That's when we're meeting because it's the same.
We
time
just got
have
that
the progress meeting.
Yeah. we
I just wanted to be accurate.
Yeah.
All right, there are no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel matters. Superintendent Stubler, did you have an adjustment to the personnel?
Yeah, I'm requesting that we pull Tiffany Davis from the service transfer and assign.
Is there a motion to approve the personnel matters with pulling Tiffany Davis from service transfer and assign?
I so move.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion in regards to personnel? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Brings us down to board member comments, no legal disciplinary matters. Mr. Tucker.
Certainly appreciated the folks that came and spoke this evening, the PROs for taking time out and coming. And obviously, somebody was impressed as a parent there by everything that they heard, which is very good. And I know I was also. And thank you, Mr. Cheeseman, for presenting, because I think it was 2 years ago when we heard about that, and I was in favor of that then. So appreciate you being here, speaking on it again.
Sure.
First of all, I think that we need to recognize Danny Dennison, who is our head maintenance guy, who unfortunately is going to be leaving us next week. He's going to ride off into the sunset and retire, but said he'd still be around, and, help was needed. And he's been very valuable to us in keeping our schools up and running and things taken care of. And Danny's going to be a big loss. I think he has 44 years in.
Congratulations to Danny.
So my kudos go to tonight to Dan Dennison.
Oh, sorry.
I just like to thank everybody that has been here. Mr. Cheeseman, for your explanation, to Todd for, his explanation also, and for our programs that we have to support. You explained that very well to the person like me. And anyway, I just think that, we just gotta keep moving forward, So, thank you everybody for everything that they do.
Dr. Santilli.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you again to the support staff. Those sets of colleagues were crucial to me being able to do what I needed to do in the classroom. I could not take care of my students and teach Spanish without the support staff.
Ms. Smith? The only thing that I'll say is we had a pretty productive School Board Association meeting over the weekend. A lot of good information in those meetings. I think that it's important for us to try to take that all in and do what we can to build a better board program and a better board relationship with our staff and our students. One thing that we did talk about was board goals. They gave us some information on board goals. I'd like us to start talking about board goals, so that we can get those. I don't think there's a statute from what I read that we have to do anything by the state, but it's recommended that we put together some board goals. So I'd like us to start considering that. Maybe we can talk about that at the next meeting. Okay. That's all I have. All right, is there any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Children, please go